Hello everyone and welcome back to another Last Cloudia video. Today we're going to be going over the new hard boss stage that they've added into the new story, as well as the arc that you get for completing it. So first things first, let's go over the stage itself. So you can find this stage in the Ancient Treasury Medium. Now I didn't have to do anything to unlock this stage, it just unlocked it by itself with the new update because I have completed the whole story. So I don't know if there's any specific requirements, but if you can beat the story, the first part anyway, I'm pretty sure it should be unlocked. So here's the stage, Occulted God Vaahs. It says it's a 3-party battle. It's quite interesting battle, it's a new thing. It's pretty good, but let's have a look at it right now. So you can see you've got to have 3 teams of 4 units. You can't use any support units, and this can be quite hard for people that don't have a lot of units built, because you do need to have all of these units. You can't use one team and just use that team to carry the whole stage, because there's 3 bosses and you've got to use a team for each boss. So I'm not going to go into all of my unit builds, I'm just going to note the most important things here. So let's go over the first team. Now the first boss is weak to dark, and everything else, you can't really use anything else unless you use Trishula. One thing to note is you can only use Trishula on 1 unit, so that kind of sucks really. So you got to use the weaknesses of the bosses, otherwise you're really going to get screwed and you're not going to be able to do that. So the first boss is weak to dark, so that's why I'm using Loxus. He's just really great here. And I'm using Alphonse because I basically built him as a tank and a healer and debuffer, and resurrection is really important here. Now this team isn't the best team really, I made a team that actually works. It's not the best team possible, but basically with this first team, Loxus is going to do all of the damage and Alphonse is going to take all the damage, and when the boss does his super high damaging attack, basically everyone's going to die, but Alphonse is still going to be alive and he's going to be able to resurrect everyone. And I gave him Goddess Kiss, which is very useful. He's going to have more MP to heal everyone and resurrect everyone, which is pretty necessary for this team anyway. Lilibet I just put in because she has very high damaging normal attacks, and I can use Apple Pie on Loxus just to make it a bit faster. You don't need to do that, but I feel like that it's quite useful. And I also put Lena in because she's pretty useful with healing, and I put on Last Records and a few other things like Resurrection in case she already has that. So that's pretty much it for the first team. The main 2 units here are Loxus and Alphonse, because you definitely need a tank / support unit or some kind of debuffs and resurrection, because otherwise you're going to have a bad time, because the boss does do a lot of damage. Now the second team, the boss is weak to light, so you're going to have to use light units. You could use someone like Alice. There isn't many physical attacking light units, but I do notice that Lily does a super good job here, and she can basically solo the stage by herself with damage wise. Now I do find the second boss to be a lot easier than the first one, so I basically use Holy Bolt on Lily and just keep spamming that, but keep an eye on the boss health because it does sometimes have a brief moment of invincibility, so keep that in mind. Keep an eye on your MP just in case. If you don't have Lily, then that kind of sucks. I also have Lagrabos because he's going to be using light magic as well, and I can use light magic on Lagrabos and Lily because Holy Bolt is not one of those big animations, it's just one of those small ones. So I've also got Tinkili because she can debuff and she's pretty useful with healing as well. Basically any unit for that, and I put in Kyle just because why not. You can put any other unit if you wanted to. I don't think I have him built properly either, but it doesn't really matter. It's mostly just Lily that's going to do pretty much all the damage, and then other units can be support units. And the arcs are not that important really. I personally like support units that give HP, make you survive longer, because you're definitely going to need that for these stages. Now the third team, this is pretty much my strongest team, because it's the final boss. You would think it would be the strongest. Now this final boss is quite interesting. I will be going into the stage soon after I talked over all my teams. The boss has 0 weakness and resistance to any element, so if you can apply weakness to the boss, then he's going to be weak to every single element, apart from non-attribute. You really don't want to use non-attribute. Use any attribute apart from non-attribute, pretty much. So I'm using Alice here, the Type S version, because I feel like she does quite a lot of damage here. Basically, you can use any units that has an element, and make sure they have good survivability too, because the final boss really does do a lot of damage, so keep an eye on that. And I've also got Roy here because he can do even more damage. Not necessary, but it's going to help clearing the boss faster. Now the main two units I like to use here are Theria for the healing and the buffs. They're super useful, you're going to need those. As well as Jen because of the debuffs. Those are really important. And that's pretty much it for my teams. Now the arcs don't matter too much, like I said. These are the arcs that I like to use personally. You can have a look and use anything that you want really, but this is the team that I'm using for the stage. Now let's actually go into the stage and try and talk through it. So I'm not going to be videoing, I'm not going to show the whole thing because I feel like it's going to take a long time, because it takes around 10 minutes or so, I think, with the time stop and stuff. So I'm just going to go over the important things to beat this stage and my strategy of beating this anyway. So when you go into battle, you can see now when you first do this stage, you won't be able to see the resistances of the enemies and you won't see their types. So that was a big pain for me because I had no idea what units to use. But now I know this, it's going to be helpful for everyone else, because I think first time you beat it, they're still going to have the same resistances the second time round as the first time. So let's go with my strategy here. Basically what I'm going to be doing is I got Shadow Wall on Alphonse because the boss does do light damage, I'm pretty sure, like magic. So we're going to do that, and Lilibet's going to debuff, so then I can do more damage. And then basically Lena's going to mostly be using Glass Record, but I did put on Blotasma because the enemy, I don't think it does physical damage, I think it's mostly magical damage, so that's going to be really useful. I couldn't be bothered to put a normal Blotasma, I got Giga instead, doesn't really matter. And then I'm going to be using Apple Pie on Loxus just to speed it up, just so I can spam the skills. You don't need to do that if you don't have it. Then basically just going to keep doing a lot of damage, and it's going to be pretty easy. There you go, there's the boss first attack. Now this does do a lot of damage, kills basically everyone apart from Alphonse. Now this is what I was talking about earlier. You need a unit like Alphonse which can heal himself as well as revive everyone else, because some of them, Lena already has an auto resurrection. I can use resurrection on Lilibet and Loxus. As long as you don't damage the boss, I think it's going to be fine. So this is the time you use to resurrect everyone and then buff everyone again. Try not to attack the boss yet, I think. And it should be alright. There you go, now everyone's revived, I can make sure everyone's healed. And then buff everyone again with Shadow Wall, and start debuffing the enemy again. And then start spamming skills on Loxus again to make sure you're always healing, because the boss is going to do quite a bit of damage, so keep an eye on that. And then that's pretty much it. There is another attack which he does, which is kind of annoying, but it doesn't do as much damage as the other attack. There you go, this is the boss's second attack. It does one hit, but it's a lot of damage, and it takes away all of your SCT, so you've got 0 SCT. At this point I'd recommend healing, some kind of healing. And what I can do, since I got Lilibet with Apple Pie, I can just spam her normal attacks as long as she's alive. And then she gets MP, which then I can use Apple Pie on Loxus, so that's why I'm using her. If you don't have that, then I guess you've got to wait around a bit longer, or if you've got Glass Record, then use that. A unit like Jen might be useful here, but I'm using her on the third final boss. There you go, now she's got some MP, I can use Apple Pie on Loxus. And then he's going to get all of their CT, and then I can just keep spamming skills, do a lot of damage to the boss. Keep an eye on everyone's HP just in case, because that's very important. Doing the same attack again, but that's fine. If anyone dies, then you can always just use Resurrection on Alphonse. He's not even, I don't even have his 5th enhance on him yet, so I want to do that, but I don't need to yet, because he still works pretty well. We're almost done, but he decided to do another attack, this one again. Well, everyone's dead again, but it's gonna be completely fine as long as he doesn't use it instantly. Then it should be completely fine. And now I'm fainted, which is great, but as long as I'm not attacking the boss, I don't think he's gonna do another attack. He just heals a bit, which is completely fine. So as long as when my unit has stopped fainting, then I can go and resurrect everyone again, and we should be able to finish this. Resurrect Loxus first, I guess, and then make sure everyone's healed, and then Loxus should be able to finish this off. There you go. God Impact should almost kill him. And Alphonse does have an auto resurrection, so I know he died there, but that's going to be completely fine. Survivability is really important here. I could do this a lot better and have a lot more survivability skills on these units, but this still works pretty well. As long as you've got a lot of revives, it's completely fine. Here we go, should be done right about now, there you go. Boss is now dead. So that's the first boss done. Let's move on to the second boss. Now once you've defeated the first boss, it does switch the first party to the second party. Now with this one, it's going to be quite a bit different than the first boss. We're going to be using mostly Lily and Lagrabos to do all the damage. So first thing I'm going to do, I do want to do as much damage as possible, so I'm going to use Lagrabos' Charisma. And then make sure Lily's using Holy Bolt. And Lagrabos is also going to use Shining Zoc, which is going to do quite a bit of damage. And Tinkili is also going to make sure everyone's debuffed and buffed as well. Magic Castle is really useful. And then that's pretty much it. You just keep spamming Holy Bolt, which is going to do so much damage to the boss. And make sure not to overdo it, because you don't want to use all of your MP. Make sure that you're careful with your MP, because he does get invincibilities at some times. And this boss does spawn other enemies, but you don't need to kill them, you just got to focus on the boss. And that's going to be completely fine. There you go, now the boss is at half HP, stop taking damage, and he will do an animation here soon, I'm pretty sure. There you go. Now this animation, it doesn't actually do damage, it spawns some enemies over there. I don't think they're that threatening, I haven't seen them do anything really. So just completely ignore them and just focus all damage on the boss. And it should be pretty easy. Now I'm going to use my Lily Matter, because that's going to speed it up a little bit. And keep spamming Holy Bolt, and this should be done in no time. Yeah, make sure your units have God Heal just in case, because some enemies can do quite a bit of damage. Keep using Holy Bolt and we should be able to finish it. There we go, quite easy there. Lily did so much damage there. Lagrabos is doing good damage too with the Shining Zoc. Now, those Alice that the enemy is spawning can use their special skill and do a lot of damage. Or they do, I don't know what they do specifically, but they do a lot of damage. Keep an eye on them. Now, the final battle with the last team. Now, this isn't that hard, in my opinion, as long as you're surviving everything. And as long as you can last long enough. Now, this boss does look really awesome. You can see he's got 0 resistance to everything. So, what I recommend here is using extremely bad chemical or any type of weakness, and then the boss is going to be weak to every single element apart from non-attribute. I tried using Baran, non-attribute unit, but he does terrible. He does like 100 damage on a critical hit. It's just bad, so don't use non-attribute. Really can't. Now, what I'm going to do here is make sure he's debuffed, because he does do quite a bit of damage. Make sure he's debuffed, as well as 3 are using Magic Castle, because he does a magic attack, which we'll show soon once he does it, which is literally every single element. It's pretty cool, but at the same time it is very deadly. And we're mostly going to be using Alice to do most of the damage here. So once he's all debuffed from Gem, I'm going to be using Glass Record, but make sure to keep an eye on your MP. You don't want to waste all of it, because it is quite a long battle. Now you can see Alice is hitting a damage cap, which is pretty nice. Here we go, here's his first attack. Now this one is pretty cool, but it is pretty deadly. You can see it's literally every single element. Does a ridiculous amount of damage, but as long as you've got a 3, it should be completely fine. All of my units almost survive that, it's just Roy, which 3 has high resurrection, so we should be completely fine with that. And make sure everyone's healing, and we should be good. Now Gen's special is really useful here, because he can give everyone MP with his special and inflict circle magic, which is pretty useful. So that's why I do recommend using him on the last on this last fight. Now my special skill is ready. Make sure Slayer mode is activated, and then I'm going to use it, and it's going to do a lot of damage. As you can see, this special skill is pretty useful. There you go, pretty good damage numbers there. That's why Alice is very good for this. Any type of unit with an element is going to be useful. I personally think Alice is more useful than Zoya. I'm not sure why he's not doing that much damage. Maybe I just got Alice more built for this. I think she might have a Slayer. Yeah, she might have God Slayer. If not, then I don't know. Yeah, Broy has Human Slayer, I know that. Now the boss is invincible for a short time. This attack's pretty cool. There are a lot of good animations here, but I'm not taking that much damage because he's debuffed, and I'm making sure everyone on my team is buffed too. Now the first time you do these bosses, it is kind of blind, so you have no idea what you're getting into. I'm hoping this is really helpful for some people, because you don't know the boss's weakness. You can see here, now he's got a minus 35 to every single element because he's got weakness on him. We're just going to use a special again, and should be doing a lot of damage here. And we're pretty far into the battle, we should be almost done soon. Now I'm going to use Karia's special because it is pretty useful to help survive a bit longer. She does increase everyone's HP and take less damage, which is pretty good. Now he's doing this attack again. We should be completely fine. Since we used Karia's special, I'm pretty sure everyone should survive this. If not, then yeah, there you go, everyone survived that, and now we can use Karia's special again. Actually, we won't need to, everyone's healing already. Now, just because I want to finish this off right now, I'm going to use Great War of Ruin, just so then I can charge Alice special to finish off right now. Should be able to do that. And there we go, boss down, third boss down, and that's the stage, we've done it. So overall, my thoughts of this boss, he does look super cool, and it is a pretty hard stage if you don't have the right team and you don't know what you're getting into, you don't know his resistances and everything like that. But there you go, that's the boss stage. Now let's go over the Ark Rewards that we get from beating this boss. So if I go down to my UR arcs, this is the arc that we get for beating the boss. Now again, this is great artwork, I do like this a lot. Now, is this arc actually worth getting? I mean, a newer player is definitely going to have a very hard time beating that boss, and you've got to get pretty far in the story to unlock it as well. But let's have a look at it. Stats are pretty good, strength and defense are pretty high, HP and mind is alright too, everything else is pretty low. So the attribute on this arc, when physically attacking, damage plus 40% if not hitting a weak attribute and critical hits or killer/slayer activates. Effects don't activate. So that basically means if you're using a non-attribute unit and they don't have any slayers and they don't hit a critical hit, then they're going to get plus 40% damage on their physical attacks, which is pretty damn useful. Now the main thing I can think of is Baran, because he doesn't have any slayers and he's non-attribute, so he's going to be really useful for that, plus 40% damage. As well as that, 5 seconds after battle start, remove any strength, defense, inter mind debuffs from the unit. And that is pretty useful for any type of stage. I don't know any, but any type of enemy or something that debuffs you at the beginning of the battle. I don't really know any, but it is still pretty useful. And last one here, no attribute attack damage cap plus 2000. Now, other URs do have plus 3000 instead of 2000, but that is still a nice bonus there to no attribute attack users. And the skills on this arc, Skill Boost 2 is pretty good, and Combo Master 2, I do very like the Combo Master skills, they're very good. And Ark Reward is an accessory, which I do really like this. 100 strength for an accessory is great, as well as the trait Light, Dark and no attribute attack physical damage plus 15%, and the attribute plus 10 to Light and Dark, and you resist blind and curse. So this accessory is very good. It's one of the top accessories, I would say. It's very strong. Everything about it is just good. So I would, in my opinion, I would definitely say this arc is definitely worth getting if you can. If you can't currently beat the stage, then eventually work on trying to beat it, but it is going to take a long time because you've got to have 12 units built just for that stage, which is pretty hard. You'll get there eventually, but new users to this game are going to have a pretty hard time. They're not going to be able to get this Ark anytime soon. And if I can compare it to the Guardians this one is another one we get for free. I personally prefer this one. For damage units, this one is definitely very good. Compared to the Guardians, I definitely prefer this one, and it is also free in the story. And in my opinion, Guardians was more painful to get because you had to defeat multiple bosses and there was a lot of different requirements. And this one is easy as long as you got a lot of units and have them built correctly and know the enemy's resistance. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope this was useful to some people. If it did, then let me know, and if you've got any questions then, or if I've left anything out, then leave it in the comments below. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I will see you when I see you, whenever that is. Hopefully the next video or stream, I don't know when. Thanks and bye.